Thanks for that, and thanks to Tom and to Glenn for a good wake-up call this morning. I made some notes on the way through, and obviously what Tom mentioned and what Glenn mentioned, I'm sure resonates with all of us. But I picked up some key points, and certainly from Tom's presentation, I'd absolutely reinforce from my perspective the whole concept of understanding the commercial reality of sales decisions and how that rolls all the way back through your home organisation is just super critical in terms of profit or margin impact, getting completely away from purely a volume pricing discussion and conversation. And my experience of the teams I've worked with there's been far too much emphasis on that volume and pricing, and as Tom mentioned, discounting pricing is just a race to the bottom anyway. And the only rider on top of that would be, from my experience, making sure and assisting the sales team understanding the business strategy. And a prime example in the organisation I'm working with right now is for years and years and years it's all been about having plenty of product there, whatever product is available in an agricultural seasonal environment, we've been able to sell. Well, this year the strategy is different because there's been new entrants into the marketplace. It's very much a working capital type business strategy, and that working capital optimization business strategy has not necessarily flowed all the way through, so there's a bit of a disconnect between what some of the sales decisions that are currently being taken and how that impacts on the business strategy. So now it's not about just absolutely maximising the volume, because previously we've been able to sell, have really good margins worth what we've taken. So it's a constant battle of reinforcing, educating, making sure the sales team are clearly on board with and understand the commercial reality and impact of the decisions. And that's really, really important. A couple of comments on what Glenn was talking about. I guess using slightly different phraseology and words, but once again, the whole concept of getting far closer to the main themes that are running in the client and customer organisations, and what value-added components can be brought to the party. And I guess every single time now, any of the sales teams in the organisations I work with are out there, it's very much about getting close, understanding what seeds are being formed there in client organisations to be able to grow, look at innovation of what other services could be used to cement that, I guess the flavour back to moving away from relationships, but I still believe there's a strong element of the need to have that relationship. It's just how that's actually used and leveraged. So the concept of innovation, but innovation not on the product and the service, innovation in terms of what else your home organisation might be able to bring to the party, whether it's access to capital, whether it's storage, whether it's distribution, whether it's other avenues that perhaps would be first and foremost thought about in that relationship. So it's a lot about thinking around outside the box, and every single time the concept is what's different, what are we doing, what are we bringing to the party that's different, and unless there's something different, it's about forgetting it. So the sales team, the first point of contact, is all about driving for being able to understand what is different that you're bringing to the party and how you can best leverage off that.
Thanks, Graham. Carla?
So our team don't actually sell. They don't actually take an order. They sell it. They don't take a physical order, and thank goodness for that, because in the pharma industry, they would have no idea, our representatives, how to actually sell, to take an order. So, but quite often they're under tremendous pressure to discount from hospital pharmacies, to a lot of drugs into hospitals. Most of the pharma industry just discount, and I think Tom's point about discounting the impact on margins is completely not understood. The margins in pharma are generous by no matter what complaints you read about in the press about the price of drugs and so forth. And so we have a policy from the get-go, maybe because I own the company and every buck is my buck essentially that's on the line. We just don't discount. And I've always been a believer in the fact that if you set up your value proposition, there's no need to discount. And it may cost you, in some side, it has cost us business, but overall we've always assessed it and said that the benefit of not discounting is actually, the value is greater than actually discounting itself. The second point was the trusted advisor. So I resonated with that because when I was a successful representative, and we're very successful in our company today. I've always maintained the motto in all the sales effectiveness stuff that I've done in various companies around the world, and that is if you're to become a trusted advisor, which is the number one objective, then you need to have the confidence to tell your customers when not to use your product as well as when to use it. And if you don't do that, if you're the typical salesperson that's pushing, then you will lose. You will never be a cut above the rest. You'll never differentiate yourself. But if you're a true trusted advisor, then overall, then you'll be more successful. And so we just brought our sales team in 2 days ago for that very same training on the trusted advisor component. We didn't use that term, trusted. I like that term for the very same reason. And so I suppose they're my 2 key takeaway points.
Thank you. Thanks, Alan.
I kept writing notes. Yes, I'm going to talk about that. Yes, I'm going to talk about that. I think it was all relevant. I think we can all, using the word that's already been brought up, resonate with much of what was said. One of the things, and credit to Glenn, when he worked in the organisation that I was in for a number of years, we talked about CV versus PV. And one of the things each business is going to be different depending on, I suppose, the size of your catalogue. In the business that I was in when Glenn was with our business, and the business that I'm in now, we've got in that business we had 10,000 SKUs. In this business we've got 5,000 SKUs. And the challenge for my salespeople at the moment, when it comes back to looking at the profitability, day one you meet with the customer, day one we look to do it the way we do it now because we know there's a different way of doing it. But you open up the catalogue and the customer starts buying a range of products and they look, and then eventually over the years they funnel down to, out of the 10,000 SKUs, to maybe the 100 they like buying off you. When I sit with my sales guys at the moment, I try and have this conversation about what's the potential value. Let's map it out. Let's see, share of wallet. One of the products we have is thermoplastics, which if you've ever broken a hand or whatever, it's like a plastic that goes on your hand. And I say to the guys, what's their total spend? Oh, I don't know. Do you know how to work it? And it comes back to even knowing about numbers. Well, do we have 70% of the business or 100% of the business? I think we've got about 50% of the business. So you do this whole algebra with them. So if we've got 50% of the business and we've got $50,000, what's the share of wallet? What's the total business? And it's like, so you get them there. But then the next stage for me, coming back to the profitability side, is to get the sales reps and the customers, I suppose, to take their head out of the 100 products and see what else is there. Because typically the price pressure is around what you're currently selling. Because the competitors are always trying to come in and say, oh, you can get that for $1, we can do it for 95 cents. Back to the conversation about profit. I was in a meeting in Mexico, it was 18 years ago. There were 47 managers from around the global company, and that question, reframing your question, if I reduce my price by 10%, what do I have to increase my volume by to get the same dollar margin result? 4 of us out of 47 could answer the question. And again, talking to my sales reps now, what are we going to grow the price? What are we going to get the extra volume? If I go to that customer and drop it by 10%, how much product are you going to give me? How much are we going to increase sales? Oh, I'm not, we're going to hold on to the business. I said, well, that's great, but we've got to fill the gaps somewhere. And probably because I've talked for long enough, the other thing is, and I'm going to actually go and buy the book because I like the sound of it. I use a term what I call find the gap, and that is there's where the customer would like to be, where the customer is, but that's not our decision to make. That's their decision to make. We have to lead them along that conversation of what's your ideal, where are you at the moment, and how can we help you get there. And I get really annoyed when I go out with the salesperson and I say, what are we going to talk to Glenn about today. Oh, we're going to show him this wonderful new pen. Why? Oh, because it's what I'm going to talk to him today. Do we know that he needs it? Do we know that there's what's his problem? What are we trying? What's the gap we're finding? And I've written a term here because I call it the card trick of sales, and I suppose we've all been guilty of it. We've all watched TV, seen the card trick where you're asked to take a card out of the deck and you're standing there and you've got the Queen of Clubs. And they ask questions to the point the only answer at the end of it is the Queen of Clubs is what you're left with. And I say to my salespeople, don't do the card trick, and that is I'm going to ask you questions to the point you go, oh, that's great, I've got one of those here for you. Because you've not filled a need. All you've identified is the person can answer the questions that you've, in the way that you want them to sell the product.
Yep.
So that's that.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, just further to that, I've got 2 comments. You talked about leading to, which is what Darren was saying, you have a lead. But I think the first thing we have to do is shut up. Everybody has to shut up and actually listen to what the customer wants, and that's what, in a sense, what you're saying. What's the customer's pain? And unfortunately, most sales reps walk in and have a suite of products to offer, but it's not aligned with what the customer's issues are. So I think we really try and research the customers we're talking to, find out what their levels of pain are, what their problems are, and then we get all that information out to them. And we don't really offer them anything in the first meeting. I mean, most of our products are very high value, $1 million plus jobs generally when we're talking projects. So we make sure we get all that information out, and we make sure we actually say very little other than introducing ourselves, but we don't start talking products. So I think there needs to be more of that type of work being done. In terms of what Tom was talking about, we don't use percentages because of what you exactly explained. We're trying to make so much money, gross profit margin, not markup, gross profit margin per tonne. Per tonne is our unit of sales. So we have a minimum gross profit margin per tonne that everybody in the company knows, and we try and aim above that. And it's got nothing to do with percentages or discounts or markups or anything. So that's the way we run our business, because percentages mean absolutely nothing to us. So it was great discussion this morning, great presentations. Thanks, guys, and very good comments. So anybody else, please, we'd love to hear some questions or love to hear your comments to any of both presenters and to the panellists, please. Anything further to add? Sure, please.
Tom, how do I get hold of your papers?
I'll send them through to you. There's nothing secret in
Any other comments?
Probably the only challenge, I think, is as the economy kind of goes down further and further, then there's obviously the customers are looking for cost reductions of their own. So I suppose what you're trying to say is you've still got to sell a solution, but that gets tougher as people look for their own discounts. And I suppose that's what you send the sales rep down that path to say, well, how do I sell a solution where in fact all the customer wants is a discount? Because they're under pressure themselves.
I suppose the question I've been in where the sales rep, I tend to do it. I've got a difficult customer, take the manager on, because it's almost like, well, if he can't solve it, then I can't be held accountable. And when I've been in those conversations, I don't answer the question. What is it that you're trying to achieve? What are the pressures that are against you? Understand why. What's driving their need for a cost reduction. And again, I say, pulling your head up out of the catalogue and saying, rather than us try and save money on what we're selling you at the moment, what else is in our portfolio that we can assist with? What projects have you come out? Is it money that you've got to save today, or is it money over the next 12 months? So I might not be able to do anything for you today, but if we could work on, and again, the trusted advisor, over the next 12 months, we might be able to help you deliver a result. Are you looking at, and if I look at the hospital, which is where we predominantly do a lot of our work, are there any fit-outs coming up where we can be, where we can assist at that level? And your day-to-day expenditure may not be able to help you, but if you've got a fit-out coming up and you've got you're spending $180,000, $200,000 on a hospital fit-out for treatment tables and stuff, which we're also involved in, maybe shaving something there where I'm not dropping margin because it's not existing sales. So again, it's always easy to give a little bit of margin away on something that you don't have. Because to the point before, we're now going to make 40% margin on something that we're not selling rather than dropping. So that's what I try and do, is find out, open up the conversation rather than these 5 products around this conversation in the next 5 minutes.
Can I take that a step further? It's intriguing for me because I'm working on the other side where we are looking for cost savings and things. One of the greatest things I've found is just talk to accounts payable. Talk to accounts, does your sales rep know anybody in accounts payable? Does he know how much work they have to do in accounts payable to manage your invoice? And example of a German company I've been working with who we managed to free up 2 people out of accounts payable by just getting invoices delivered to them in a smarter format, particularly the routine ones. They transferred the 2 people into doing analysis and have won a major tender with BHP, which has basically rescued the company in Australia. But it's being smart about that. We're kind of seen as heroic, which is nonsense. But they were talking to Bruce before it was, and it's paralysis by analysis internally. But your sales guys have got to be aware of that sort of stuff. That's often where the opportunity may not be dollars and cents. It might be in process. Yeah. Understand your client fully.
I think the other thing is regarding relationships, the sales guys actually speaking to the right people, because if they get bogged down always in the purchasing department, that's where it's going to break down. But the pain I mentioned before is better known up the organisation, whether it's the tech heads or the operational people or the CEO, for example. We try and get in with the CEOs, and all the best relationships we have start with the CEOs, and those CEOs say to the guys further down the chain, hey, you've got to buy from those guys because they're offering this, that and the other. So it's having that exposure and talking to the right people in the organisation, not the obvious ones all the time, because you get nowhere they're not going to get anywhere doing that. So I think that's another key, and sometimes that's a little bit sort of forgotten. It's really important.
I think for me, the really, I'm going to pick up on a couple of the points Darren made with the sales execs having the catalogue, the product brochure is almost like their Linus blanket. I think the real mind-bending question to put to the sales execs, the sales team is, imagine going in, think about your objectives, what are you trying to achieve? Imagine you're about to go into this customer visit and you've got no product catalogue. In fact, as a company, we no longer have any products or services. How are you going to conduct that conversation? How are you going to achieve your objective? What are you going to do to add value? You've got no products or services to sell. And that absolutely does the head in of the sales execs and sales team in most, because it's just such a non sequitur. Well, what am I on this planet for? We're fortunate enough to do some work, and Carlo and Darren will relate to this. We're doing a lot of work in the pharmacy, retail pharmacy world at the moment. And without boring you with chapter and verse, retail pharmacy is under a major revolution at the moment because of changes the government's making to the PBS. Long story short, the way retail pharmacies have operated in delivering their service to customers, when all of us go in and hand our script in, they've been able to make, let's face it, a lot of money through the largesse of the PBS system, and they've been able to do that without really giving a lot of service. One of the beneficiaries of that system have been the generic companies who supply generic products into retail pharmacies, so that the pharmacists can say, would you like the generic version of that? And again, that's a way that pharmacists have made a lot of money. That's now being whittled back very quickly. So we're speaking to generic suppliers who have trained their reps to go in and sell the benefits to the retail pharmacists of switching the customers over to the generic medication because it's better for their bottom line to actually, that advantage is now nearly gone. The race to the bottom is nearly complete. Your opportunity now to add value is to teach that pharmacist how to deliver service in a completely different way to their customer that's got nothing to do with generics anymore. And that is the mind-bending discussion that many organisations need to have. How do I add value if I had no products or services to sell?